Hi everyone, it's Evonne Britton here and I'm joined today by Agnes Vivarelli. Welcome Agnes, it's lovely to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm really excited to talk to you. Agnes, would you mind just briefly mentioning a little bit about what you do? I know it's probably quite wide, but if there was a way to, or introduce yourself in a way that you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, sure. I had in 2015, if I remember correctly, a back injury at work, and I was going through, healing my back and just really learning about different things. And then later on, I had prior to that done a coaching course, and I hadn't done anything with it. And then I'd moved on to just doing a YouTube channel for fun. And I was still obviously learning, reading, and had been doing that for about 30 years, but it was just a hobby. And then, learning to share success stories and learning to just give simple information about the practicalities of the law of attraction, Neville's teachings. And it's moved on years down the track. It has become a business. It's become not just a passion. It's become something that I do for work. And it's now 2019. So, yeah, it's just evolved over time from a little idea, just a little idea. So in a nutshell, that's how it started.
And it's booming. From what I can see, it's booming and you're helping.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So Agnes, the main topic I wanted to talk about is how our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions affect our health, whether it's going towards not being healthy or whether it's, whatever direction you're going on, but, if you're becoming sick, what does that help or how is it leading us to sickness or how is it being part of the sickness and how can it help to come out of the sickness, whether it's chronic health issues or whatever?
Well, I think when I look back at my own life at 20, I think I was 28, 29, I wasn't 30 yet. I ended up going to the doctor and I had something that I thought was just an ulcer. And when I went to the doctor, he said, that's not an ulcer, that's a tumor. You need to get that removed. And I remember thinking, what? That can't be right. Anyway, I freaked out and then I went home and I thought, well, what am I actually doing to my body here? And at the time, I was really struggling with my finances and I was pushing my body too hard work-wise. So I was overworking to try and create a financial income. And in the pushing of that, I ended up, it's like the body goes from 80 down to 50, down to 20, down to 0. And I went -0. And then I ended up getting sick because I was physically pushing too hard. And it was being driven by a fear of scarcity, fear of not having enough money. So that was my first experience of having to practice healing my body. And I changed my diet because I wasn't eating very well. I ate a lot of processed foods. I loved McDonald's. I loved, a lot of junk food. I just was working and not cooking for myself. So I would just grab things on the go. So I changed my diet and then I had to change my mental diet because I was now faced with, okay, you're going to go and get something cut out and removed, or you're going to change what you're doing. So I started to change what I was doing with the diet and then looking at meditation, looking at rest, looking at sleeping properly, looking at just changing the whole lifestyle that had created this health condition. And I, at 28, 29, I thought I was invincible, that I could do whatever I wanted to my body and it would bounce back. And that wasn't the case. So changed everything because it gave me a scare. I said to the doctor, I'm not getting that done. I will deal with it. If my body created this, there is a way that it will dissolve this. I had read a little bit of stuff at that point, not a lot, but I knew that there had to be a way to dissolve things within the body. And then I started obviously working on how to go about doing that. And I understood at that point a lot of resentment, a lot of negative emotion starts in the head. The thoughts, it goes into the body as emotion. It's like thoughts are the language of the head and emotions are the language of the body. So I had to change what I was doing in my head, change what I was doing physically, as in listen to my body that it was exhausted. It had gone into the minus. And within, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks, I can't remember exactly, but it was under 2 months, the tumor went away. I went back to the doctor and he said, it's not gone, it's in remission. And I said, no, it's not, it's gone. And to this day, it's never returned. So made the changes. And then I had to learn the lesson again because I ended up with glandular fever and I ended up in bed for months because I'd again pushed my body. I was dancing then professionally and I'd pushed my body way too hard. Again, had to hit the wall, learn the lesson the hard way. And I was in bed for, I think it was 3 or 4 months off and on, where I remember walking from the bedroom to the toilet and I was exhausted. Just walking that, 5 paces, it would just exhaust me because I'd exhausted my body so much. I'd used up all the reserves and I wasn't recharging. That again was being driven by fear of financial scarcity. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I have to keep pushing. I have to keep pushing. If I'm sick, I need to go to work. And just being driven by this fear of lack of money. So it was like a form of punishing myself physically to keep up with the financial demands. So that taught me the second lesson, getting not chronic fatigue, glandular fever. And again, having to learn to rebuild. I was dancing at that point too. Later on, where I was dancing in dance shows around the country, performing for children in schools that was in out of the city regions. So we were traveling a lot, long distances, then doing 1 or 2 shows a day, physically demanding. I was in my 30s, so, that was in my favor. But the more I kept pushing, then I tore my hamstring badly, and that ended that career in dancing. That ended that immediately. And then it took, again, months to repair the torn hamstring. That was actually more difficult than probably the tumor and the glandular fever because I wasn't able to walk. I was dragging my leg around, and that took a lot of osteopath, and it was incredibly painful because the muscles go like this when you tear a hamstring, and you've got to separate them so that they go back to just that back to normal state. So that was a painful lesson to learn. So there was quite a few points of injury or illness in my 20s, in my 30s, and then the back injury. So it was kind of like a succession of lessons that needed to be learnt again and again and again. Yeah. So these days, as we know, self-love is really important, and that requires sleep and eating properly and exercise and drinking water. Then the mental fitness, working on your mental state with affirmations, with meditation, calm yourself down, and also releasing fear, anxiety, and also whether you are just not, when you're not okay mentally, then you're not okay emotionally. So it was dealing with the meditation and the affirmations to balance back out. And that took time because I wasn't good at sitting still, wasn't good at focusing. And that was the skill I had to learn over time. So, it's an ongoing thing. Meditation and affirmations is still a big part of what I do, but I do feel my health is so much better these days. Is it perfect? No, there's still things that need to be constantly, daily. Again, you're only as good as today, so you've got to continue to eat well, continue to exercise, continue to do all these things. But do I feel better than I did then? I feel a lot better because I'm not taxing myself physically all the time because of fear of lack of money or, you know, whatever else was going on. So yeah, things are definitely better, but I think it's dealing with also the resentments, dealing with anything that's bothering you. Anything that you've got going on mentally and emotionally implodes. The body is the closest thing to you. Money's out there, jobs are out there, relationships are out there, trips are out there, cars are out there. Whatever you're trying to manifest, it's all out there. The closest thing to you is your health, because you are living inside your own body. So it's the thing that takes the impact, I think, the quickest on what you're thinking, feeling, and believing, and your emotions. So yeah, so that's a lesson. It's learning to calm yourself down as best you can all the time. And that's an ongoing thing, you know. It is an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I love that you talk about the combination of the changing your diet and the meditations and the affirmations, because I remember quite a few years back where, you know, maybe I just discovered Louise Hay or Wayne Dyer, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do these affirmations, but my diet wasn't quite on point, so it wasn't ever going to work. Or, you know, like I had been trying the diet, I had been trying the affirmations, but I hadn't really brought it all together. And
yep.
That, you know, what I help people to do now, actually, that's where I am now. It's all kind of like come together.
Yeah.
And the thing about the stress, whether it's coming from, you know, not being well, you strike that just like in itself is a stress, isn't it? What is wrong with me? And want to be better, but whether it's finances, you're generating that stress hormone.
Yes.
I think even like you talk a lot about just finding relief, and I think that just it stops that production of the, you know, the stress hormones that are contributes to our sickness. So yeah, I love that the way that you explained that. I wanted to ask you, so when you first you know, you were doing your meditations, affirmations, and you changed your diet when you had your tumor, what kind of meditations were you doing then? What was kind of like your daily routine? Because it sounds like you turned that around in a very short space of time.
With the tumor, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think what I remember, because it was quite a long time ago now, I think it was writing a lot of stuff. I remember sitting down and writing a lot of stuff, like just things that were bothering me, anything that I was unhappy about. It was just like getting it out of the body. So I've spent every day in that 6 or 8 weeks, whenever that was, writing everything down. And I remember I was living in Sydney at the time, and I basically pulled the plug on everything, on my job, on what I was doing, on where I was living. I basically just left and went and lived in this remote area in the mountains, and I was basically using that time to get better. And yeah, it was daily writing, and it was just every day I'd think, okay, what's bothering me? What's bothering me? What's bothering me? And I would sit and I would just write. And it could be about stuff from the past. It could have been about stuff about the present. It could have been about stuff, you know, anything. And different things would come up each day. So I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And then I would just go into the backyard and I would get a match and I would light it and I'd just burn it.
Oh, that's good. I was going to ask you if you kept
it. No, I didn't keep it. I got rid of it all. So it was like it literally was dissolving and disintegrating, and it would just go back into the earth. I think there was a little fire pit in this backyard where I was staying, and it was just, a little area where I just got rid of it every day. So, yeah, it was a good little ritual. So I did that. And then I was doing, I think, the white light meditation, if I remember correctly, because I wasn't that, you know, sophisticated in my meditation at that time. So I just visualized white light coming down through the body and then extended across the arms, down into the body, down to the legs, and anything that was negative or dark in terms of, like I got to the point, I remember, where I could see where there were dark spots in my body. When I was sending white light down, there'd be like this dense area where it was just really, you could see it was a blockage or something. So I was trying to send white light down through that area to dissolve that. I don't know how I came up with that at the time. I must have heard it somewhere, but I did that day after day after day. And that seemed to consist of part of what helped with the healing. So
did you visualize yourself being better as well, or
no, I don't even think I visualized that at that time. I don't think I was even aware of those concepts then. I think it was really simple, writing down resentments and anything that was bothering me, sending white light down through the body, and then eating proper food. That was it. It was 3 things.
Did you move? Did you do any kind of like exercise or movement?
Yes, I would have walked every day because I was in a non-city area. So there was lots of trees and lots of small streets where there weren't a lot of cars. So I think I was just walking an hour a day, getting some fresh air. Because when I walk and it's in nature, I do get this feeling of relief. It's like you're out in the open, you're breathing in fresh air. It just felt good. So that was part of it too, was aiming. I don't think I was conscious of it then, but it was aiming for relief, as you and I just talked about before we started recording this. It was aiming for relief without actually knowing that's what I was doing.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
And
now because you hear a lot about self-love nowadays.
Yes.
How would you kind of like explain it? Is it an inner peace? Is it just feeling good in your own skin?
I think it is, but I
think it's really important for your health as well.
Yes, I agree with you, because the better you feel, then the better your body responds. I think stopping self-criticism. I know a lot of people, especially when they get up and have a shower and then they look at themselves in the mirror, have a lot of self-criticism. I think it's giving that one up. I think women, we are chronic in that.
Yeah.
It's always criticizing something about the body, and that needs to go if you're going to really, I think, move into self-love. It's letting go of the criticism every day, and it's also the physical self-love, like we talked about. Sleeping enough, for me, that's about 8 hours. I feel always a bit undercooked if I'm at 6 or 7 hours. It's not enough for me. So 8 hours is my preferred amount of sleep time. And drinking lots of water, at least 1 liter or 2 a day. Obviously that's easier in a hot climate, but it's still making the effort to drink as much as you can. And then like just really detoxing the body with water. It's such a simple thing. It's free. Anyone can do that. So that's important. And then eating food that's alive, food that nature makes, whether it's, whether you're a meat eater or whether you're a vegetarian. With meat, you got to be a bit careful because it's so full of hormones. So eating organic meat or free range meat is obviously a better choice. And then eating, for me, lots of dark green vegetables. That's something that really is good for me. Eating vegetables, eating fruit, and making that the 90% of my diet. Because I notice when I eat a lot of other things that I don't feel as good, and my skin breaks out, or I get a really bloated stomach, or I have trouble digesting, or other things happen when I don't eat the right foods. And that's got worse as I've got older. The symptoms kick in much quicker. In my 20s and 30s, I was eating anything and my body was kind of, just trying to process it and did a fairly good job. But I had skin issues. I had other things, I had, always an itchy scalp. I was always going from eating a lot of dairy and sugar and stuff like that. So the symptoms were there, but as I got older, it got worse. So you can't sort of ignore it so much.
No, it's true.
So, yeah.
I think the diet as well is, you have to remove certain things to know if they do or don't work for you, like dairy. I think
exactly.
A lot of people work out quite early on. It just doesn't work for them. And some...
I remember, Evonne, I went to once I had a really bad ear infection. It's probably one of the only times I've been to the doctor since I had the tumor. And the doctor said to me, right, I'm going to tell you one thing, because I was like in so much pain. I was crying when I was at the doctor. He said, dairy is good for baby cows. It's not good for humans.
Good doctor.
And I thought, wow, that's pretty easy to remember.
Amazing though that you hear that from an actual doctor.
Yeah, I know. It was quite weird. I thought, wow, I'd never heard that before. And me being half French, half Italian, I mean, I've lived in Australia for 30 years, but my heritage of French Italian, high dairy, high, yogurt, cheese, cream, cakes, chocolate in the pastries. And then there's all the sugar that goes with it, high dairy, high sugar, high wheat, 3 categories that my body slowly went, you cannot eat this like you used to. Now I probably have it about 10% of the time. It's not a big deal, but I was eating that diet 90% of the time, and it was slowly breaking me down. I mean, I can see, my skin's better, my eyes are brighter, my energy's better, I feel better. All of those things and all those symptoms that I said, they disappear when I eat properly. It's just that simple.
And there's brain fog that comes with it as well. And
yes,
it goes, and when that clears up, then you can even, you can think clearer, and you might not have a negative thought going through your brain.
It's true. It's easier to think clear. There's actually a book called Grain Brain. It's a book about wheat, people that eat a lot of grains and wheats. So it was an interesting read at the time, and that did help me for me, let go of a lot of that and just have it sometimes. Not saying I'm totally pure in my diet, but I am 90%, 10% now, I would say.
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference when things like even anxiety, and then you become a bit more rational in what you're thinking. Like, is that really true?
Yeah. Yes, you do. And anything you can do for the physical body then makes your mind clearer to be able to think, to do the other stuff you want to do. Meditation, affirmations, visualizing, whatever it is, your mind is much clearer if you've already put good fuel in your body.
Yeah, or even to keep eating well. I know that I remember like nights where I just didn't sleep well at all because I had pneumonia, and you just get up and you might even have the healthy foods in the fridge, but you just can't bring yourself to do it. You're like, I'm just going to have something quick. Like I just can't go anywhere without a coffee, even though
Yeah, I used to live off 2-minute noodles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to love 2-minute noodles. I'd buy like 12, I'd stick them in the cupboard, and I'd eat these little 2-minute noodles all the time. It was just full of all sorts of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes it.
Still love the taste. I mean, if someone gave me one now, I'd go, wow, I still really like it. But
well, I think they make them so they taste good, no?
What's that?
They make them that they taste good, so...
Yeah, they do make them. Yeah, they're like addictive. They're just addictive. Yeah.
Going back to the negative inner talk, because one of my good friends really shocked me the other day, saying, she said, I wake up in the morning and the first thought is a negative one about my body, and I'm like, late 40s, and I was really shocked by it.
Yeah.
And I know I know that we're not even conscious now of a lot of the negative talk, and if you're not kind of like aware in your brain, sometimes it's hard to catch it because it's just it's so default that you're just thinking. But it's hard to say, like we say, just stop doing it, no? But you kind of like would say replace it, no, with something else.
I think replacing's easier than just say to yourself, stop doing that. Giving your mind something else to do, because your mind is always looking for something. Especially in the morning when you're half awake, or at night when you go to bed. It's 2 of the most challenging times of the day for a lot of people. From coaching people, that's what I hear. I'm really struggle in the morning, or I really struggle at night. It's like, well, at night you're often tired because you've had a full day, and in the morning you've just woken up, and usually you start thinking about all the stuff you haven't got. I haven't got a relationship. I haven't got enough money. I don't like my job. Whatever it is, you start off with that same old story. So you've got to give it something else to do. You can't just say, stop thinking that, stop thinking that. It doesn't seem to work.
No, I think we mentioned, it might even be a couple of months ago now, I mentioned to you the Joe Dispenza. It was an interview that he did.
Yeah.
At the end of the interview, he said, like the guy interviewing him said, what do you recommend to people if you had to say one thing? And it was like, don't get out of bed in the morning until you're on like that path where you want to be. And he says, as soon as you wait, he said, because if not, it takes control of you. It's like automatically, go get your coffee, go and do this, blah, blah, blah. But if you if you can pause enough to kind of thoughts. And his story about I just watched the Heal documentary again, for the second time because it's on Netflix now. His story is like amazing, you know, about how he repaired his spine. Like, it's
without surgery. I know, I just did a YouTube on that where I read that story because it was so amazing how he used his mind to repair his spine and his spinal cord without, you know, any physical surgery. I mean, wow, what an incredible focus he had. Incredible focus. I think it's one of the best healing stories I've ever heard.
I do too. I'm always listening to his stuff because I find it so fascinating. And he said actually at the beginning that he was training himself to get the focus because he didn't have it to start with. Yes,
and he kept going back to the beginning. Every time he got distracted, he'd go back and start again, go back and start again. So it was an incredible discipline in concentration.
Yeah, I find it really uplifting.
Yeah, I agree. I'm reading his book Placebo at the moment. It's fantastic. It's so good. And that story of his spine, repairing the spine, is in the first chapter of the book. So yeah,
he's going to Scotland in March.
Lovely.
I'd love to go and see him. So I know it's like easy to think, he's Joe Dispenza and he was a chiropractor and he could do this, but I think that even if you take the essence of it and you kind of like somehow blend it into, you know, like, what could I do today, you know?
Exactly.
How much am I capable of?
Mm.
Okay, well, that was it, Agnes. That was kind of like all I really wanted to talk about, because you mentioned hydration, and that's kind of like always the first thing that I focus on is with people. But then before jumping to the diet, I do the thoughts and beliefs and the emotional part, because I mean it all got reaction as well. You know, it's producing something in your body. And I mentioned to you before, I have an interview with Shelley Lefcoat on actually how to remove those underlying beliefs.
Wonderful.
And I just realised recently, because I think I mentioned to you I was writing an ebook, and as I was writing about the topic on beliefs, I thought, you know what, I actually believed for years that I was sick. I was just like you all through at university. I just thought I'm not as healthy as other people. And I realized it, and it kind of like worked the opposite for me. I didn't like my health shattered that belief basically, because I got to the point where I thought, oh God, I used to think I wasn't healthy, and I remember thinking everyone's healthier than me. I had multiple miscarriages. I had, I'm just somehow kind of like I don't have good health, and so when I was writing that ebook, I thought, oh, that belief just got like shattered into tiny pieces, because not only do I feel healthy, I'm healthier than a lot of people.
That's the opposite belief now. I'm healthier than a lot of people.
That's exactly what I thought when I was writing it. I was like, okay, now working in my favour.
That's great.
I do believe it. So I really appreciate it. Always lovely talking to you, and your story.
Likewise. It's nice to talk about this because it's such a big area in a lot of people's lives, and it impacts every other area. I mean, if you're not feeling great, you've got something going on with a disease or a sickness that's impacting your other parts of your life, especially if you're in pain or you're restricted in some way by your sickness or your injury or your illness. It really does impact your ability to think, to be able to meditate, to be able to do affirmations, to be able to do all these things that you could do to help yourself. So I find one of the easiest things is you start with a simple affirmation like I am healthy, even when you're not feeling it, or thank you for my healing, like the woman that had the breast cancer in the movie The Secret. That was such a simple affirmation. Thank you for my healing. Thank you for my healing. Thank you for my healing. And she said it over and over and over. And in her story, she got rid of the breast cancer in 3 months. Now, she doesn't talk about what she did for the diet or any of that, but she did say that she watched a lot of comedy and laughed a lot.
I remember. I'll never forget that.
That was a great story. And then there's the other guy that had the plane accident. He was in a plane crash. Remember that guy?
Yeah, I do.
They called him the Miracle Man. His story of health is really good. So for people that want to watch really good stories, if they get The Secret out and watch those two in particular, they're fabulous stories of how the mechanics of what this person did to actually get to the place where they ended up with a healthy body again. So Yeah, it's good. It's
No,
good
it is a really good point, because when you're in it and you really don't feel well, it's not that easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not when you're in pain, especially if you're in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for having me.
No, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
We will. To be continued.
Thanks.